The thing that I think I would hate the most about this, if this was some kind of gatekeeping, racial or controversial conversation gatekeeping, especially since YouTube seemingly is a proponent of empowering black voices, because if this is some form of censorship, it's like, well, you know, not all black voices, just the ones that we agree with. Sorry if I'm a bit dusty and crusty today. I didn't expect to be making this video. This is probably going to take a second to build to. I have screenshots and things like that, but hopefully by the end everything clicks in to place. And I know that big tech censorship videos, I suppose they're a dime a dozen, so to speak, but I really think I might have something here. I hope I don't, but I feel like I might, so it seemed like it would be a good idea at least to share it. See what you think as we go through this together. So I have my notes here and the screenshots and stuff, so if I'm looking off to the side, that's the reason. So on the 4th of April, I got an email telling me that one of my videos was okay to be monetized. Quickly, disclaimer, this video isn't about videos not being monetized, because I know sometimes people are like, oh, I'm being censored, and it's like, no, you're just not being allowed to be monetized. It's not the same thing. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, the email in question reads, "Hi laytonicles, great news. After manually reviewing your video, we've determined that it is suitable for all advertisers." This was strange to me because I didn't check to see if it was suitable for advertisers on the 4th of April or any time before then. The video has been up for over 3 months and it was monetizable then and it's monetizable now, so seemingly for some reason the video has been manually reviewed. But then directly after that I noticed a difference in my viewing numbers, let's say. So if you look here, you know, you don't have to be a mathematician to see that some form of difference has happened. But then obviously you can see a very stark contrast. It drops off to what looks like 10%, if not less than 10% of that. I noticed that over a 48-hour period, for some reason, my channel started to tank. Initially, I didn't think too much of it. I was kind of just like, oh, that's a bit weird. I wonder why that's happened. Maybe YouTube is recalibrating or something like that. I'm sure it'll be fine by the next day. But then the next day rolls around and it's worse. So I'm curious as to why this would have happened. So I'm going through my videos that I have, and seemingly one of them has gotten the needing the prospective viewer to be over 18 years old, which I thought was strange because again, the video has been up for over 3 months at this point. So the video that got flagged was me reviewing the book White Fragility. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, maybe you've read it, maybe you haven't. But as you can imagine, it's a book review. It's harmless, you would presume. So, you know, I thought it was a mistake. I thought it was a clerical error. As I say, I didn't ask for this video to be manually reviewed or anything like that. I thought it was a clerical error. So I appealed the 18+ targeting, and I think within about 24 hours, I lost the appeal. So video got manually reviewed, didn't ask, but it's definitely been manually seen and still remains, you have to be over 18 to watch the video. So what I'm saying is, this isn't an accident, seemingly. But now I'm curious because I'm like, well, maybe I did actually transgress the guidelines, the 18+ guidelines. So I have a look at what those read. And so you have all the evidence. I thought we would go through them together. So this is the age-restricted content parameters that YouTube has on their own website, and it reads, sometimes content doesn't violate our policies, but it may not be appropriate for viewers under 18 in these cases. We may place an age restriction on the video. This policy applies to videos, video description, custom thumbnails, live streams, and any other YouTube product or feature. So the first guideline is child safety, and I'm the only person that features in that video, other than a handful of excerpts, but all of the people involved are like over 40, so definitely not children. And you know, I understand that there's a perception that millennials don't age as quickly as some of the previous generations, but you know, even I don't count as a child. So, child safety we're okay for. Next is harmful or dangerous activities, including regulated substances and drugs. There's no doing of drugs in the video, there's not even a mention of drugs in the video. There's nudity and sexually suggestive content. Again, it's just me in the video, fully clothed, as I am now, and I have zero sex appeal. Then there's violent or graphic content. Again, it's literally just me sat here as I am now, reviewing a book. And then finally there's vulgar language, which I don't think I'm in transgression of either. Again, it's literally a book review. I'm using words like Byzantine and false dichotomy, for instance. And so to the language point, literally the only thing I can think of is that in the video I say the N word, I think maybe once or something, but it's also like, well, first of all, I've said that in another video and that seemingly has remained up. And there are so many videos, particularly if you're a black creator, which I am, maybe at most you get the video demonetized or something like that, but they stay up. They don't get the over 18 treatment that my video seemingly did. So overall, I'm kind of just left thinking, well, this is strange. I've never had this happen before. Maybe there's another avenue that I can go down, or other avenues that I can go down. So I do what, through being in the YouTube zeitgeist, I have learned is the thing that you do. You contact YouTube creators on Twitter. So I did that. I wrote to them, can someone tell me why, despite being published 3 months ago, my video has suddenly been age restricted to 18 plus, with no mention of which guideline it transgresses. This seems like a mistake. Can you rectify this? To which I was pleasantly surprised to actually get a response. It's an automated response, but it's a response, no less. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. We'll pass this along to our team and get back to you once we have an update to share. Appreciate your patience. Cool, something seemingly in motion. That's great. But then I also remembered that in the YouTube Studio app, if you're a partnered channel, which thanks to probably people like you, I am a part of. So I went into a chat with the people that are paid to help you, essentially. So again, screenshots of the chat that happened. Hi there, how can I help? That kind of thing. To which I responded, hi there, I realised a day or so ago that despite one of my videos being published over 3 months ago, it was recently flagged as 18 plus with no reason as to why, so I was wondering if I could have this rectified, as it seems like a clerical error. He apologises, he's like, oh, sorry that that's happened. Pleasant stuff. I say thank you. He asks for the link to the video. I send him the link to the video. Then he has to review it. The video is like 45 minutes long and he responds in like 3 or 4 minutes, which is probably fine. It's probably just a skim through. So it all gets reviewed and then afterwards they're like, would you like to appeal? And I'm like, yes. Them not being under the understanding that I've already appealed the video. That's something I thought that they would be able to see, but apparently not. I essentially say I've already appealed. They're like, when? I'm like, yesterday. And essentially what it boils down to is the decision is final, which is also something that it says in the YouTube guidelines too. Once you've put an appeal in, whatever the answer you get is, that's what it's staying as. And that is what it's stayed as so far. So YouTube, Twitter creators in motion, YouTube, studio, chat, dead. So you might be sat there thinking, what's the big deal? It's just one video after all. And so I'd like to posit, I suppose, the reason for this video twofold on both I suppose, a metric standpoint and a potential technocratic standpoint. The claim was that the video was not suitable for people under the age of 18. However, going into the YouTube analytics, YouTube themselves tell me that my audience that comprises of people that are less than 18 years old are less than 1% of my audience. It's primarily the 18 to 24, 23 to 35, 35 to 44. You get the gist. You can see the image on screen. So basically I'm wondering, well, how have I had such a stark drop off since basically all of my audience is over 18 years old? And so now you might be wondering, well, how did this single knock-on effect affect the rest of my channel? Or the numbers of it at least. And I do want to reiterate again, this isn't really about the numbers for me, and I'll get into that later. But as you can see, the video was averaging around 1.8 thousand views a day, which isn't necessarily huge, but it's fairly consistent. As you can see, there's a bit of fluctuation, but it's basically been consistent for a while to be around that number. But then after this change to only over 18s can watch the video, it goes from 1.8 thousand views a day and drops down to 60 or less than 100 on average. It's pretty black and white, it's pretty night and day, stark contrast. And now you might be thinking, well, how did this have a knock-on effect to the rest of the channel? And that is, the channel seemingly went from averaging around 2.5 thousand views a day, and that's fairly consistent, and then it suddenly drops down to less than 400, which is about 15% of what the channel was doing prior. So again, this one video seemingly has been restricted, but now my viewership has dropped to 15% of what it has been consistently. Kind of strange, but let's go on. Seemingly, the channel was getting about 1.6 new viewers a day and 400 returning viewers, and then that dropped down to 100 new viewers a day and about 150 returning viewers, which again, quite the stark contrast. And so you might be thinking, how did the removal of one video lead to such a stark decrease in viewership? And my, I suppose, speculation is that because that was the video, I suppose, that was in the algorithm, that was the main video of mine that new people saw. So maybe they saw that one video and then they would branch out and see some of the other videos. So even though it's essentially one video pulled, it's like, well, now nothing on the channel is remotely relevant because that's how people were coming through, that's how new viewers were coming through. So now when you go on the video, it says that you need to sign in to confirm your age. I did this on an incognito, and then I logged in with a different account of mine, and then even still when you click on the video, it says this video may be inappropriate for some users, which is like, isn't that a given for almost anything on the platform? I went and saw Cats in the cinema. That was inappropriate viewing for me. You don't need a disclaimer for that. You'll find out watching the video if that's true. You'll click out of the video. You get my point. So I'm like, well, if they put this many blocks in place, even for the people that opt into looking at the video, clearly this thing has been pulled out of the algorithm. It's more difficult to find, and that is evidenced in the numbers that I've shared with you already. So what is the good faith take in this for me? I hear you ask. I am still perfectly happy to assume that this is a fluke. For some reason, it was manually reviewed when it shouldn't have been because it had already passed that guideline. And then it was also, on a fluke, manually put down as you have to be over 18 for this. Because again, we've gotten through the guidelines together. It doesn't transgress anything that is there. Also, many YouTubers make videos on this topic and they don't automatically go into the over 18 bin, you know? There's so many YouTubers making videos on controversial topics. So basically what I'm getting at is, I think, as far as I can tell, it's more intentional than I would like to believe. And so the reason that I'm annoyed isn't specifically to do with the numbers. It's primarily about the transparency, because it's like, well, you've told me that the video isn't suitable for people under 18. You haven't told me why, what guideline it transgresses. And also, you tell me that most of my audience, literally over 99% of my audience, is over the age of 18 anyway. Like, I just don't understand how it's seemingly ad-friendly, but not under 18 friendly. And honestly, I'm perfectly happy. If it causes any resolve to have those switched, turn off monetization if you want, so long as people can actually see a potential video that they would be interested in. And like, if that means that it doesn't generate money, which it doesn't do a whole lot anyway, that's completely fine with me. I just, you know, I worked hard on a thing. It seemingly resonated with people in a way that they like. So I'm kind of like, well, shouldn't the people, so to speak, the capital, the people, be able to see this? I don't know. It feels a bit censorship-ish. And this isn't the first kind of thing. I've also received a couple of comments talking about potential shadow banning, for instance. So one of them reads, I think you're being shadow banned, my dude. I didn't get your name recommended when I searched it, and before I clicked on your channel, it said I wasn't subscribed. When I clicked back to then looked a second time, it said subscribed again, but very clearly said subscribe in red at first. And then somebody else also spoke about them searching my name in YouTube, literally came back with 0 results, to which I was like, where do you live? I'm out of curiosity. And he was like, Colorado, USA. And you know, when I've received these comments both times, I have opened up an incognito, put my own name in, and there I am. Great. So I'm like, it's a fluke. YouTube wouldn't do that, would they? No. There are qualitative distinctions to be making, because it's like, it's not censored in a way that the video is no longer up anymore, but it's certainly censored in a way that people can't find it in the way that they used to be able to. And again, you've seen the graphs. It was pretty consistently doing kinds of numbers for a time, and then they very quickly dropped off. I don't think this is a correlatory thing. This seems causal to me. And I think maybe the reason why the video was manually reviewed in this way is because I spoke somewhat unfavorably, although fairly, by the comments that I received, because I supposedly spoke unfavorably of a book that goes against the anti-racist industry, so to speak. And so my thinking is, as I mentioned, there was the first one and the last one, they got too big, and so maybe someone's like, well, we'll pull it, we can just pull it, because it's a thing of, well, you don't know what you don't know. It's much more discreet that way. If people can't find it, it may as well not exist anyway. And you might say, well, this is a private company, it's their own website, this, that, and the other, etc. However, the way that I've heard YouTube spoken about by other creators is that in the way that you go to work, your employer tells you what to do, so to speak. And if you can do those things, you'll do okay on the platform, so to speak. And it's like, well, ostensibly I did those things, but there's still a punishment for it anyway that seemingly come out 3 months after original publishing. I don't know. It just seems a bit sus. And the thing that I think I would hate the most about this, if this was some kind of gatekeeping, racial or controversial conversation gatekeeping, so to speak, especially since YouTube seemingly is a proponent of empowering black voices, because if this is some form of censorship, it's like, well, you know, not all black voices, just the ones that we agree with. All I suppose I'm saying in this video is that if I have transgressed the guidelines that put something over the threshold of you need to be over 18 to watch this, even if you don't rectify this video, can you at least tell me? Because all I got is appeal denied. Not for what reason, just that it was denied. So for the loosest parallel in the world, this to me, and I understand that they're not the same thing, but bear with me, it's like, hey, you've been arrested. What for? Can you tell me? No. But we're going to enact the consequences of it anyway. I'm literally just a guy sat in my living room making videos. Like, I didn't think it was that deep. I reviewed a book. So what I expect to happen past this point, honestly, is that nothing will really change. There's so much news and information all the time. It'll be like, this will be forgotten in like 5 days. I would hope not, because, you know, I've seen that YouTube reaches out to people. I saw Evan Edinger had a video talking about the problems that he had been having with YouTube, and then they seemingly fixed them. And then he made an update of, hey, they fixed them. Good on them. Additionally, Moisture, Critical, Penguin, many names. I believe he had a conversation with Susan, the CEO of YouTube, because, you know, they seemingly care. For a very long time, the main critique that people had with YouTube is that they didn't have great communication. And so again, in reference to your appeal has been denied, that to me strikes me as poor communication, because it's like, well, my content has been flagged for a reason. Can you at least tell me so I can fix it in the future? I don't know. It's just kind of upsetting, because I really love YouTube. I think it's the best social platform going, easy. I think the algorithm at this point in time, really good. You never really run out of stuff to watch. I'm passionate about making videos. I even watched the
Creator Insider
channel, and it's so evident that like they really care about the platform. And so I suppose I'm just asking, like, if anyone from YouTube happens to watch this video, can you look into I understand that the Twitter thing said, oh, we'll get back to you. We'll see. If the reason boils down to something like, oh, it's too controversial a topic, again, YouTubers make videos on controversial topics all the time, and at most they get demonetized. They don't get, you have to be over 18 to watch this video. And the book that I reviewed, for some university courses, is compulsory reading. And then again, the book and kind of the theorization in the book is also informing a lot of like school curriculum. So young people that are potentially under 18. And so if the reason is, well, we can socialize people with the beliefs that are found in the book, but we're not going to allow people to hear the critiques of the book, I'm like, I don't know, that seems a bit nefarious. And truth be told, even if the video is reinstated, it probably won't go back to the way it was. My channel probably won't go back to the way it was. It's difficult to get a positive feedback loop going from zero. And as I've said, that's completely fine. I just want the video to actually be findable to the people that have proved to want to watch it, because all I set out to do when I made that video is make the best video that I could. I personally feel the exact same way about that video when it was less than 10,000 views as I do now when it's over 200,000 views. To me, it's still the same video. It still means the same thing to me. But if people want to watch it because they have proven that they like it, I'm like, well, can you show it to them? And can you not make pulling that one video so heavily affect the rest of my channel, please? We're manually reviewing this video, even though you didn't ask. Channel dead. I would really hate for this to be like a big tech censorship story, because if it is, who's gonna check them? Because the reason why David and Goliath is a myth is because it's not real. Spoiler alert, Goliath always wins. Again, you don't know what you don't know. If you don't see a thing, you don't know that you're missing it or that it's potentially there to even see in the first place. And then the society that we live in just all gets meandered around and things like that. I don't know. Again, I desperately want to believe that this is unintentional, or if there is a reason, I'm just like, can you tell me what the reason is, please? That's the end of that. I'm sorry that the video is a bit of a bummer. I feel like my voice sounds kind of crusty, so I'm sorry about that. I do want to thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate that a lot. Oh, I mentioned that there was a Q&A happening. That'll be coming out in the next few days. So if you would like, put the bell on to be on the eye out for that. It's much funnier than this, probably, or at least hopefully, because this has been very dry. In the meantime, whilst you're waiting for that video, tell me what you think in the comments down below. And, if you want to update on this story as I know it, if you want, follow me on the socials. That would be great. As I've mentioned, this video was a part of a mini-series, so if you want to watch the first part that seemingly hasn't been affected by the algorithm, you can see that here, and I'll put that as a playlist. That'll link into the video that has been seemingly pulled, so you can have a bit of a, oh, will the video tip over to the one that has been affected? We'll see. I think that's all I have to say. Sorry this wasn't a normal laytonicles video, but there will be one coming very soon. And again, sorry this was a bummer, but it seems like an important thing to say. Hopefully I've represented all the information that I have at my disposal and represented myself as well as I could in a situation like this. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for being interested and caring what I have to say, because I really care about this a lot, this issue, I guess, even though it's not usually my bag of tricks, but this was important to me. And the video that you have just watched was actually my third attempt filming the thing, and that was 2 hours cut down to about 40, and the episode that I did before this one, that took about 7 or 8 attempts. So basically what I'm saying is I really care, I'm really trying. Hopefully I conveyed my thoughts, feelings, analysis as best I can for you, dear listener.